coming to you from the Hudson Media Group studios. This is Talking Politics, and I am the professor, Fernando Uribe. There's a lot to cover today, so let's get started. Here's what I'm thinking about right now in Hudson County. Well, folks, if you read the news feed recently, you might have learned that Ward E Councilman James Solomon, who represents the downtown section of Jersey City, introduced a possible new ordinance coming up on the next council meeting itinerary. But more importantly, he reached out to his constituents via social media for some feedback on some possible new rules and regulations he's looking to implement in the downtown section of Jersey City. Now, if you're all familiar with the Pedestrian Plaza, which is right pretty much along Newark Avenue, right before the Grove Street Path entrance, it's really been transformed in recent years. As you all know, restaurants, lounges, and bars have surfaced, as many other retailers have also decided to reside permanently now in the Pedestrian Plaza area. But one of the things that really is astounding to me is the amount of nightlife that's really generated there in recent years. And while it's great and vibrant for the downtown area, it's raised some concerns for residents, and vis-a-vis, Councilman Solomon is looking to take the lead on this issue. Now, recently on his social media page, he did cover a few things about what his ordinance is looking to cover, and ultimately the feedback that he's looking to get from residents. And I'll sort of just go over a few things with you today in terms of improving the quality of life. For example, he talked about strict limits on new club openings. Now, again, the new proposed ordinance would limit new entertainment licenses from opening within 250 feet of each other along the strip within Pedestrian Plaza. So, for example, entertainment licenses permit live music and DJs along with other forms of entertainment. Now, those businesses that were granted licenses prior to June 30th, 2019 will not be affected. For example, also, the councilman is looking to strengthen the noise ordinance and the nuisance code, which includes, of course, the current noise ordinance that requires complicated equipment and trained personnel to enforce at all times. Now, of course, the proposed change allows for, quote, police officers to enforce a plainly audible standard in which citations can be issued on the spot. In addition to sort of noise pollution and quality of life, there's also some loading and unloading issues in the area. He talks about, for example, ride sharing, delivery, and other vehicles have ultimately created unsafe conditions along Christopher Columbus Drive, which runs adjacent from Newark Avenue. And certainly what he's proposing is a 24-hour loading zone on both sides of Christopher Columbus Drive. Now, the loading zones might serve as a place for deliveries along Pedestrian Plaza and also for anyone looking to grab an Uber or Lyft during any time of the day. And of course, last but not least, he's looking to restrict rooftop entertainment. Ultimately, what he's looking to do is rewrite the entire entertainment license ordinance to clarify, quote, that rooftops are outdoor spaces that are subject to strict restrictions already outlined in the ordinance. Now, first and foremost, I applaud Councilman Solomon for taking this initiative, and I'll have him on my podcast coming up in the next few weeks. But this is one of the things that sort of concerns me about the downtown area, especially residents that want to sort of make a fuss. And I have this all the time every year when it comes to sort of me critiquing whiny downtown Hoboken residents. You're complaining about two bar crawls within a calendar year. Yes, that's 365 days. And you're still complaining about this when it comes to noise and anything else. And I get it, folks. It's a quality of life issue. You don't want to be inconvenienced. But for example, the same modus operandi I'm going to use for downtown Hoboken residents, I'm going to use for downtown Jersey City residents. Folks, and here's a newsflash for you. You chose to live in downtown Jersey City. Now, again, I feel bad that you're paying an exorbitant amount of rent for the space that you're getting. But folks, again, when you choose to live in a downtown section of any city, you have to expect some sort of nightlife, some sort of hospitality. It's what makes the area vibrant. It's what makes it lively. It's what makes it a destination you want to go to. Okay? There's a reason why these establishments surface in downtown sections. Okay? Now, do you want to go to a bar or a lounge or a restaurant in some parts of the Heights or the South Side or Greenville or West Side Avenue in Jersey City? Of course not. And let's be honest about it. If you're someone looking to invest capital of any kind, do you want to do that in some parts of the Heights, in the South Side of Jersey City, in Greenville or West Side Avenue? Of course not. You want to go to somewhere where it's safe and, quite frankly, you know what? You actually want to be there. So the problem is, with at least my issue with downtown residents is you can't have it both ways. You want to live somewhere that's downtown and exciting. You want to go for a drink. You want to go to one of the many establishments that you have downtown, which includes the Ashford, which include Porta, okay, whether it's a rooftop area or anything else. Even Barcade, folks. If you're into video games and beer, that's a great venue also. But you can't have it both ways. You want to live downtown, then you have to sort of endure what part of the downtown means. And that's some noise, that's some pedestrian traffic, and that's also regular traffic altogether. Now, again, listen, I don't want to be insensitive to residents. Again, as I mentioned before, you pay a lot of rent to live down there. But folks, listen, and this is one of the things that, we always get on like whiny millennials for feeling entitled and sort of making a fuss about anything and everything. Well, it seems like even some grown-ups in downtown Jersey City are doing the exact same thing. But let me be very clear. I applaud Councilman Solomon for taking the initiative on this, but at the same token, I don't want this to get hijacked by residents that are going to be overly sensitive or are just going to get easily triggered about anything having to do with the downtown section. Again, it's lively, it's the place to be, it's somewhere you want to go to. But at the same time, you can't be complaining when everything you've ever wanted in the downtown section starts residing there. So either pick your poison, folks, when it comes to living in downtown Jersey City. I'll keep you posted here on Talking Politics as far as where this ordinance goes. But once again, I applaud Councilman Solomon for seeking feedback from residents. But by the same token, Councilman Solomon, and I urge you to at least take this warning, don't let this entire crusade get hijacked by some residents that just want to sort of make a fuss, because it ruins it for everybody else. And I'm hoping that's not the case in downtown Jersey City. It's a wonderful place to go to. I go to it often, and I hope that you do as well. And that's what I'm thinking about right now in Hudson County. Well, folks, in the most recent edition of Talk on the Hudson, which you can listen to live every Wednesday night on Blog Talk Radio by going to the website www.blogtalkradio.com/Talk on the Hudson, was Union City Mayor, New Jersey State Senator, and a fellow member of Cowboys Nation, Brian Stack. He had a lot to say about not just what's going on in Union City, but more specifically what's going on at the state level as it pertains to the budget, since budget season is well underway, and under state law mandated by the Constitution of the state of New Jersey, a budget has to be ratified and signed by the governor prior to June 30th. At the end of the fiscal year. If it does not happen, then we run really having a state shutdown like we did a couple of years ago during Chris Christie's last term as governor. Let's hope that doesn't happen. But Brian Stack had a lot to say about what the budget entails and what he's concerned about when it comes to spending and other issues within the state of New Jersey. Let's hear what he had to say.
Brian,
absolutely.
We'll get back. No, absolutely. We'll get back to the local in a minute. But one of the reasons I want to get you on today, obviously, it's budget season. And the other hat that you wear, of the many hats that you wear, Brian, is our state senator here in the 33rd Legislative District. There seems to be a lot of infighting within the Democratic Party in Trenton. I think we've talked about this before. Not every Democrat is cut out of the same cloth. Clearly Governor Murphy and State Senate President Steve Sweeney are not the same type of Democrats. And the budget season right now, it seems like this is going to get much more contentious. Like, can you tell us about what's going on right now with the budget? And what are you concerned about with it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm definitely concerned to see the infighting that we have right now, Fernando. It concerns me greatly. I mean, there's a lot of good people that could quit in the middle. I think the Senate President and the governor have got to try to find a way to work this out, not for the Democratic Party, but for the state and for the residents who live in the state. I think people, elected Murphy to do a job, and they expect the job to get done. And the same thing with the Senate President. He's elected by the people in his district, and he's got a statewide recognition, a statewide profile. And I think people are expecting to see something productive out of the both of them, not just the infighting to have infighting going on. It's not good. It's not good for anybody. It's not good. Definitely, it's not good for the state. It's not good for the Democratic Party. It's not good for anyone. So I'm just hoping that they bring this together sooner rather than later. Does it stop before the end of the budget season? I doubt it. I'm hoping to see some resolution, at least to see some type of a working relationship between the two by the end of the year. I would be hopeful.
Now, Brian, one of the complicated things about the budget, and I know that you are someone that always is concerned about fiscal practices and what's going on with spending, but it seems like one of the hot button issues right now in Trenton, Brian, is the fact that I think a lot of people look at Governor Murphy as someone that is all about tax, and maybe Senator Sweeney and Assembly Speaker Copeland are trying to be like, okay, let's sort of manage our belts a little bit here. Let's sort of see what we can cut out, or let's be a little more responsible. Is that what you hear in Trenton?
Some of that, Fernando, no doubt. And it's good to have a check and balance. Don't get me wrong. You have one party in control in the state, and there should be some checks and balances. It's a very good point you just made. But I don't think it's even about making a point anymore. I think basically it's just like, well, Sweeney proposes this, so I'm going to be against it. Murphy proposes this, so I'm going to be against it. And you just can't run a state this way. The people of New Jersey could care less about what the fighting is about. The people of the state, whether you're a Democrat or Republican Independent, You want to see solutions to the problems. You may not always agree how we get there, but people want solutions, especially in these times.
Oh, no, I agree with you. And isn't it weird, Brian, because for 8 years, I know that you had a great rapport with Governor Christie. I mean, not being, obviously, the three of us being, fellow Cowboy fans, we also eye to eye on that, of course. But it seemed like, you were able to get more done with Governor Christie in office, even despite it was very bipartisan. I know that obviously in the district, the school system, everything really benefited in the 33rd more than, let's say, other districts in the county. But now with Governor Murphy, it seems like maybe is Union City going to be hitting a little bit of an impasse now? Are you hoping that this is something that can be resolved where, maybe Union City can kind of get back that funding that you've kind of been used to getting, negotiations through bipartisanship, or does it seem like it's just going to be like a tug of war, not just with you, but with every district?
Well, Fernando, I had a great relationship with Governor Christie. I think the world of him. I think the governor did his best when he was in office, and I've always maintained that relationship. Governor Murphy, I have a good working relationship with. Don't get me wrong. I've had a good relationship with Senate President Sweeney over the years also. I mean, the 33rd District, I'm working on quite a bit of projects. I'm working on an issue in Hoboken with Mayor Bala. The governor's been very cooperative, Governor Murphy. Working on a couple different issues in Jersey City right now. He's been cooperative. Working on a joint issue with Mayor Turner and Weehawken, and that's gone well. We just received $9 million to Palisade Avenue from Governor Murphy, so he's been very good to us. We also received in discretionary transitional aid $20 million. So there's really no complaint from Union City, but on the big issues in the state is where I'm very concerned with. We're always going to be able, I think, to work out our problems on the municipal level and on the county level. I just think the big ticket items in New Jersey, property tax relief overall, the property taxes are too high everywhere. Union City, they're too high. Across the state, they're too high. And I think people are looking for pension reform. I think people are looking for property tax reform in the state. There's a lot of different issues that are going on. Whether you're in favor of marijuana, not in favor of marijuana, we spoke about that last time. I think people are looking at some resolution to that. So there's a lot of different issues that are going on. I just think the Speaker, the President of the Senate, and the Governor got to get in the same room. For that matter, the minority leader in the Senate and the minority leader in the Assembly got to get in the same room and hash things out and say, look, we're all here for the people. We can fight, have our fights, but we got to come together at some point.
Certainly, Mayor Stack had a lot to say about the recent municipal elections in both North Bergen and West New York. Now, his recent rapport that has suddenly surfaced with North Bergen Mayor and State Senator Nicholas Sacco has surprised many, but it shouldn't surprise a lot of political insiders as, of course, Mayor Stack is always looking to broker a peace with anyone in Hudson County and is willing to work with anyone regardless of any sort of ideological or personal clashes. Let's see what he had to say about both the North Bergen results and also the results in West New York involving Felix Roque.
I say, Brian, no surprises yesterday in the municipal elections. I know both in North Bergen and West New York. I know that to many people, they were surprised to see you come out for Mayor Sacco on social media. I know you guys have made peace over time.
Yes.
Were you surprised with the results? Were you surprised with the results yesterday? And also, how's that rapport with Mayor Sacco today?
Good. I mean, Fernando, I wasn't really surprised at all with the results. No, I know that Mayor Sacco has a great organization. He's been there for a long time. He's got deep roots in the community. My relationship has definitely improved over the years with Mayor Sacco. I think him and I both have an understanding and a mutual respect for each other. In West New York, I have to say I wasn't that surprised. No, I knew that there had been some trouble brewing for quite some time now. I've always maintained a good relationship with Mayor Roque. He's always been a gentleman to me, and that will always continue. I wish him well in he's a very successful doctor, so I'm sure he'll go back to just practicing his medicine and doing what he's always done. But the people of West New York are spoken, and the people have to respect that. That's for sure.
Yeah, listen, that's the elections go, Brian. So the people cast votes, their voices are heard, and then, obviously, you live with the results. And I think that's what any election really, I think, constitutes.
Now, in addition to the state budget issues that Mayor Stack discussed, we also talked about reforming marijuana laws. And while Brian Stack is still vehemently opposed to legalizing recreational marijuana, he's very receptive to expungement and even the outright decriminalization, which is pretty much on the minds of a lot of New Jersey residents when it comes to true and effective criminal justice reform. Let's hear what he had to say about marijuana reform and, more importantly, what it could do for the state in the long run.
To come together at some point.
Brian, speaking of hashing things out, it was in the news cycle this week. Senate President Sweeney effectively told New Jerseyans that legalized marijuana is a dead issue. It's going to a ballot referendum in November of 2020. I know how outspoken you've been about this, Brian, and I think you and I have been on the same page on it. But I'm really disappointed about Brian, not necessarily I think collectively about the legislature, but it seems like getting this right when it comes to expungements. Like, I'll be honest with you, I don't care about marijuana. I don't smoke it. I don't care to. I understand why some New Jerseyans are really interested in it, whether it's for revenue or for social justice. But it just seems like the legislature can't get it right about expungements. And I don't know, Brian. I mean, it seems like way too many New Jerseyans are in jail right now. And I know you see the stats.
I agree.
You know, so what's going to happen with expungement? Like, what would you like to see happen?
I wanted to see some resolution to it, one way or the other. I agree with you on the social justice end. I wasn't always a big proponent of legalizing marijuana recreational use across the board. I mean, I'm willing to I've listened to both sides of the argument. There's good parts of the argument on people who want to legalize. I feel like, I've listened to those arguments. I'm ready to make a decision at the right time. I talked about last time when we were on the program, we talked about even more hearings in New Jersey. It's unfortunate that there weren't more hearings. I think that marijuana was such a big issue. If it was me, I would have had a hearing in every county. Okay, so if you're not going to have it in every county, at least have it in every region of the state, north, central, south. Give people an opportunity to come out. But that being said, I don't see anything happening with marijuana. So even talking about it may not even be, an issue right now for us to even talk about because I don't see it happening.
And for a lot of New Jerseyans, Brian, it just seems like it would have been easier to put it on the ballot this November, but it seems like with low turnout because of the assembly races, maybe some assembly people in the state they may not want to have this on their record. I mean, especially when it comes to voting during the primaries or during the general election, some assemblymen and women maybe don't want to approach us this year. But is it a good idea to have to push it all the way until November 2020? I mean, Brian, November 2020 is going to be a very busy month. I think we all know for a lot of reasons, right?
I agree. I don't think it's a good idea that we pushed it off like that. I think it should have been decided a lot sooner. I just think all of this other stuff that's going on has caused a lot of that to happen. And Fernando, when I just see the comments back and forth, whether it's between the governor, whether it's the Senate president, whether it's others in the state taking a side, it's not good for anybody. I just think we're all grown-ups. We should get into a room and get this thing resolved one way or the other. Agree to disagree, and say, listen, we're going to disagree on certain issues. That's fine. I don't always agree with the Democratic Party on every issue, and I'm a Democrat, right? I mean, I supported Governor Christie in the past. I never shied away from that. I mean, some people agreed with it. Some people didn't agree with it. But at the end of the day, I think if you're a public official that really cares about people see through that. I don't think the party politics is as big as some people may portray. And a lot of the stuff that's going on between the governor and going on between Senate President Sweeney, and I respect them both deeply, is all inside baseball. And I don't think even people in the state really care about that stuff that's going on. They just want resolutions to the problems in the state, and rightfully so. It's what they elect us all for.
Lastly, we discussed the state of today's Democratic Party. As we all know, the mayor and state senator is a very proud Democrat. But as we discussed, not all Democrats are cut from the same cloth. We've seen many of the clashes that Governor Murphy has had with State Senate President Steve Sweeney and Assembly Speaker Craig Coughlin. Whether it's about property taxes, state spending, marijuana reform, or any sort of help for illegals in New Jersey, Democrats aren't always on the same page. And Mayor Stack was quick to point that out during this week's episode of Talk on the Hudson. Let's hear what he had to say, not just only about Governor Murphy, but also the state of the Democratic Party, both in New Jersey and on a national level.
When some candidates promise free this and free that, like that triggers people, Brian. Like that makes people concerned. Or when you hear different type of or different rhetoric, though. As a Democrat, though, how concerned are you that if the party doesn't really get it together, with a good economy and maybe just the fact that people might get turned off by some of the rhetoric, it seems like the president could be on track for another 4 years if the party doesn't get it sort of together. What do you think about the state of the Democratic Party right now today?
Well, I think it's healthy, Fernando. You have so many people that want to run, I mean, you don't hear a centralized message from the Democratic Party, and it's early yet, and I understand that. I'm not involved so much in presidential politics because of my work that I do on the city and on the state level as a senator and as a mayor. I mean, I follow it like everybody else does. But I think at the end of the day, it will work out. I don't think it's a given. Don't get me wrong. I didn't vote for Donald Trump, and I would never vote for him. But having said that, I don't think it's a given that the Democrats win the election. That's for sure. I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and I think their message has to be, a message of inclusion, number one. Number two, there's got to be a plan of action of what they're going to do for the country to make it better. So I don't think it's a given right now, and they have a lot of work to do. There's no doubt about it.
Brian, do you feel any pressure, whether as a state senator or even as a mayor or as a prominent member of the Democratic Party, do you feel any pressure because at the state level, Chairman Curie has kind of made it very clear, and so has Governor Murphy, that, New Jerseyans are kind of, and the party itself specifically, are really all about Cory Booker. And it seems like every county chair is all about Cory Booker. Do you feel any pressure at all to sort of jump on the Booker bandwagon and the Booker train because of what's going on?
No, I haven't received any pressure at all. In fact, no one even spoke to me about it. I've known Cory. I have a lot of respect for Cory as a U.S. Senator. I mean, it would be great to have somebody from New Jersey be the nominee. But no, I haven't gotten any pressure at all.
Well, the reason I ask you that is because, again, Chairman Curie has made it very clear. So has Governor Murphy. So has, county chairs all over the state, though. So have there been any conversations at all? Because you're a very prominent Democrat, Brian. Your name has a lot of political capital. So have you been approached about it? Have you been, bothered or harassed?
I haven't, Fernando, and that's...
Oh, you have not?
No, and believe me when I tell you, no one has approached me whatsoever. No. I don't know John Curry, believe it or not. I don't know John Curry very well. I know Cory Booker from being our senator and the mayor of Newark, but no one has approached me. Not even anybody from Cory Booker's campus called me and said, can you endorse me, or can you do anything in Union City or in the 33rd? Not at all.
While November 2020 is still almost a lifetime away politically, there'll be a lot to talk about, not just here in Hudson County, but throughout the state of New Jersey and even nationally about the presidential election and, more importantly, how New Jerseyans see politics within the Democratic Party. Mayor Sack was quick to point out that, of course, he's free to disagree with some of the premises that are put forth by the Democratic Party, but in the end, he remains a Democrat, and he's true blue all the way. You can listen to the entire audio episode of Talking the Hudson by going to www.blogtalkradio.com/Talking the Hudson. Now to some local news. This week, we had finally the eventual showdowns in both North Bergen and in West New York, as the municipal elections did indeed take place. Now, here's some numbers I wanted to cover with you today. First, in North Bergen, as it pertains to the margin, and to the surprise of very few within the county and even in New Jersey, North Bergen Mayor Nicholas Sacco was reelected to an 8th consecutive term. Now, looking at some numbers here today, Mayor Sacco received 8,768 votes. Again, and these are all sort of according to the most recent estimates from the Hudson County Clerk's Office, to his opponent's totals, which were 4,026. Now, while Larry Weinstein put up a very brave and valiant campaign, it still seems like he's lacking a lot of support within North Bergen, as you can see with the 2-1 margin that Mayor Sacco won by. Now, certainly there are a lot of rumors right now as to whether or not this will be Mayor Sacco's last term in office as mayor, as many whispers are still sort of circulating as to any successors for him coming up in 2023, whether it's the chairman of the Hudson County Freeholder Board, Anthony Benary, or perhaps somebody within his commissioner's ticket could also sort of take off as an eventual successor, whether it be for mayor or maybe even for the state Senate seat that Mayor Sacco currently occupies. It remains to be seen what's going to happen, but the residents of North Bergen spoke, and they spoke very loudly. With these margins, it seems like Mayor Sacco's popularity is as high as it's ever been. Now, turning to West New York, and to no one's surprise, and I've talked about it regularly on the podcast, and I've talked about it before, the New Beginnings ticket, led by Commissioner Gabriel Rodriguez, won in, it may not have been a very convincing fashion, but they won by a pretty good margin. Now, I'd call this election a lot closer, almost by a razor-thin margin of almost between 200 to 250 votes. Turns out, Gabriel Rodriguez received 3,602 votes to Felix Roque's 2,717 votes. Now, yes, there's an 800-plus vote margin there, And while Mayor Roque announced this week that he'll indeed be going to court to contest these results, the people of West New York have spoken. Now, without a doubt, as you saw it on social media or even any other sort of media outlets, you know that the New Beginnings ticket went door to door each and every night. Now, in fairness to Mayor Roque, he certainly put up a very valiant campaign as well, but it seems like West New Yorkers wanted a change. Now, again, 8 years ago, he upset the political establishment by defeating the Hudson County Democratic Organization, and quite frankly, folks, with a much better ticket than he had today. Now, no disrespect to Mayor Roque and, for example, Commissioner Susan Calacurcio, but the rest of his ticket remained relatively unknown. And again, this is not me being inflammatory or trying to defame anyone on the ticket or insult them, but the facts are facts, folks. 3/4 of the ticket wasn't exactly well known in the town, and I think that was a problem for Mayor Roque going into this election. On the other side, New Beginnings had, of course, Gabriel Rodriguez at the top of the ticket, and also Commissioner Cosmo Carrillo, who coincidentally received actually a few more votes than Commissioner Rodriguez in the total vote tally. Now, during the reorganization meeting that will take place next week in West New York, it's well established that Gabriel Rodriguez will be named mayor in the commissioner form of government that lives in West New York. Certainly, Representative Ceres and HCDO Chairwoman Amy DeGees had a lot to celebrate this past week with their hard work and their tenacity in making sure that the New Beginnings ticket ended up winning in West New York. I talked about it before, folks, whether it's her political capital last November during the midterm elections and getting considerable turnout for not only U.S. Representative Albio Ceres, but also U.S. Senator Bob Menendez. Amy DeGees continues to impress many, not just in Hudson County, but throughout the state, for being one of those chairwomen that's out in the public and also taking it to the streets, knocking on doors, and trying to make a difference with residents and voters throughout Hudson County. We'll see what the New Beginnings ticket does in West New York when they take office next week. And again, sort of on a party note, I do want to thank Felix Roque for his 8 years of service. As I've talked about it before on this program, I have an enormous amount of respect for Mayor Roque. He's a proud veteran, he's a proud doctor, and he's been a proud public servant for the last 8 years. Certainly, and I've talked about it before, I really, I'm always grateful for the rapport I've had with Felix Roque, whether it's been his generosity to my philanthropy throughout all these years, or even attending a fundraising dinner that I held 8 years ago when I was running for a state assembly seat in the 33rd Legislative District. Now, again, I can't say the same for some of his campaign team, who quite frankly did him an immense disservice during this election season. He could have gotten out a message that was maybe a little louder, and he could have actually been out there more in the community. You can rely on social media all you want, but you need to be knocking on doors, and it seems like Mayor Roque wasn't doing that. It's not just enough to sort of live on your record. You have to be seen out there in the public. You have to go door to door. You have to talk to your constituents. You have to talk to voters. And it seems like Felix Roque wasn't doing that. So while some of his campaign staffers will move on to the next campaign, and hopefully they won't mess that one up too, like they did this one, we'll see that Felix Roque is able to ride off into the sunset and, of course, continue his medical practice and certainly continue being a very vocal member of West New York and also within Hudson County. So, again, congratulations to both Gabriel Rodriguez and the New Beginnings ticket, and also congratulations to Mayor Sacco and his line of commissioners in North Bergen for their wins this week during the municipal elections. Of course, we have primary day coming up on June 4th for the Hudson County Executive and obviously assembly seats in all 3 legislative districts here in Hudson County, as well as the county clerk position that'll be on the ballot. Well, folks, that's the rundown this week. I want to thank you for joining us here on Talking Politics. Again, for all the excellent programming provided by the Hudson Media Group, check out their websites, www.hmgtvshows.com and also www.livestream.com/HMGTV. Don't forget to follow the Hudson Media Group on Instagram and Twitter, and like them on Facebook. And don't forget to also like Talking to Hudson, which airs live every Wednesday night on Blog Talk Radio at 9 p.m. by going to www.blogtalkradio.com/Talking to Hudson. Don't forget to like it on Instagram and also on Twitter and on Facebook. I'm Fernando Uribe. If we're talking politics, it's right here with the Hudson Media Group.